Have you ever had that moment of that conversation that you know needs to happen? It's a priority to make it happen, and yet you keep avoiding it. Usually, when it comes to corrective action and even needing to terminate somebody, it's never easy. I don't think it gets easier the more you do it. The reality is, you missed something along the path, most likely, that led up to what you've been avoiding for probably the last month, that bold conversation that needed to happen. And I hear a lot with people when we go in to address leadership behaviors, leader behavior patterns, that people just don't know how to have the conversation, or they've had so many terrible conversations, they're afraid to have just one more. Well, today in the sandbox, I'm going to be sharing with you the conversation script and what actually to say when you get the opportunity to let someone go. So welcome into the Leadership Sandbox. I'm Tammy J and excited to have you join me today. Let's get started. So we've all had that moment that you've been avoiding, right? We've been avoiding this conversation that needs to happen. Why is it that we avoid that conversation? Well, for many reasons. People avoid the conversation, mostly because it's uncomfortable. It becomes uncomfortable to have that conversation around performance, around where someone's not meeting the expectation. I've actually heard from leaders, it's more uncomfortable for them because they realize they made a bad hiring decision and they're trying to make someone square peg, round hole fit. And it's hard for them to put in the framework to admit and acknowledge I made a bad hiring call and I'm actually making it worse on the other person. So that moment, leader, that you started avoiding this conversation is the moment that you actually started lying to the individual that you're struggling with and actually lying to the whole team. And the team can see it happening. They see it unfolding. And where you get to step in and change that conversation, right? Change the outcome is coming up with what you need in the conversation to have happen. It's about leading with the decision, not stepping into the debate in your own mind. Because that moment that you open with a conversation with someone with so how's it been going? You've just now made a negotiation and you've just now opened up discussion. You've made all of that possible. And the truth of the matter is, I want you to lead with that decision point first, not getting into the why, the what's, the how come not. I want you to just be clear. So getting that clarity in your own mind, letting go of the storytelling because you've kept avoiding it for so long, and getting really, really clear on the situation and the behaviors that you're seeing or not seeing is going to be paramount to your success. Because it's really about naming the pattern of behavior, not the person, right? Take it off the personality, put it into the behavior. We talk about that all the time here in the Leadership Sandbox. How do you do that? You get very clear on what are the deliverables that you expected, that you've asked for because you had clarity in your expectations that you're still not seeing. And did you give them the framework of what success looks like? If you've done all of that and documented it well, it's time to go to that next level of conversation, not for negotiation, not for discussion, but for the clarity of the decision point that you've made. You name the pattern, not the person. And you want to name the behavior because behavior is the evidence of the outcome and what got us to that outcome. So that's where I want you to stay in your conversation when it comes up. So this is all the preparatory work. I'll give you the 1, 2, 3 steps of the script, but this is the preparatory work that you as the leader get to do before you step into letting someone go. And The research is pretty clear that this is one of the most challenging areas in leadership. People avoid having these conversations. They get challenged by needing to have these conversations out of their own story and the picture that they create so boldly in their own head. Oh, I've got to go in and I got to talk to Sally about her performance, and I know it's going to be a challenge, and I know she's not going to be open to it, and all of that is true. And right now, what I want you to do is to turn down the sirens in your head. I want you to turn down the sirens in your head, and I want you to turn up the volume of you, not the sirens of the what ifs and the potential landfall that will happen, landslide that will happen from this conversation and how uncomfortable it makes you. I want you to turn up the conversation factually of why and what is, and then get into the how. But I want you also to remember this: silence and avoidance, friend, that's not kind, and that's not showing mercy. What it's actually doing is transferring pain, not just to the individual that you're avoiding in that moment. It's actually transferring it to the whole team, because the team knows who you're having challenges with. The team knows who might be that underperformer. The team knows who's not meeting expectations. They just might not know what you've done behind the scenes because they can't. They're not supposed to, but they're watching how you're handling it. And so when you're avoiding, you might think it's comfort for them, but actually it's just comfort for you. So here's the 3-part structure. Are you ready for it? The 3-part script. This is where we're going. All right, here is the script for your conversation that you're going to have when letting somebody go. Very simple. 1, you're going to set the appointment, sit down with the person, and start with stating the decision. Sally, we've come to a decision, and today will be your last day of employment. We're giving you 2 weeks of severance. Number 2, state the reason in 1 sentence backed by fact. It can be as simple as this. Okay, here is your script. 3 points. Ready? Number 1, state the decision simplistically, as simple as possible. Sally, we've come to a decision that today will be your last day, and we're giving you 2 weeks of severance with our company X. Number 2, I want you to state the reason in a single sentence backed by fact. And it can be as simple as, you're approaching the 90 days, and we recognize that this is not a fit long-term for the company. It also could be, you've been on a performance improvement plan, and we see that you're not meeting the measurements of that plan, and we feel that it's time to separate ways. I'd probably even take feel out of it, and we recognize it's time to separate ways. Then number 3, you state what happens next. Simply. That's it. Anything more, and what I mean by what happens next: today is your last day of employment. You will receive 2 weeks of compensation. If you offer that, if your company offers that, the additional pieces, you would then let them know that you will be walking them out, or HR will be walking them to the office so that they can collect their personal belongings. And we thank you for your time and wish you all the best in your future endeavors. That's it. Because if you say anything more than that, you're not comforting the person, you're actually comforting you. That's the whole thing. You're trying to fill it with words to make you feel better. And the reality is, it's just going to be uncomfortable, and you're going to be sitting in the ick for a minute. But here's the other key, because I've seen this fail point too many times, and I want to bring it to your attention. Don't go into apologizing for the decision. Gee, we're really sorry that this didn't work out. Nope, we're not saying that. You could acknowledge that we recognize the timing of this may not be great. We recognize the timing for this is never a good thing. That's why we're honoring you with the 2 weeks. I don't know how you want to say it, but nothing more than that. You don't need to try to justify or apologize. And I want you to remember this: the conversation itself isn't actually hard. It's not the hardest part. The hardest challenge, the hardest part was the month leading up to the conversation, when you knew that it needed to happen and you were recognizing that it was coming, and the story that you built up and the scenario that you built up in your head. That's usually the hardest part. And that's what keeps you from actually having the dialogue in the first place. But 3 simple steps: State the decision clearly, and in one sentence, the reason. No blaming, no finger pointing, backed by fact. And number 3, state to the person what happens next and follow through swiftly. That's it. The end of story. Depending on the policies around your company, they might be escorted out of the room immediately, and others will go in and collect their personal belongings. Whatever that is, that's the part that you're going to tell them what they can expect next. Period. When you go too much farther than that, again, you make it about you, leader, not about them. And remember, that month leading up to it is the story that you've built so big in your head that I want you to stop. And for help with that, I want you to go back and listen to episode 141 of the Leadership Sandbox, just the last episode, because if this conversation feels hard, that episode is going to help you, because it's called Quiet Firing, when leaders avoid the hard conversations. And that right there is where it starts. Start listening there. Set up the conversation, because we've given you the 3 steps to be able to do that, so that next time you get to have that dialogue around letting someone go. It's not a big, huge picture in your head that's scary. It actually is a 3-step conversation that goes very quickly and very swiftly, because you've already got all the facts. Otherwise, you wouldn't be having that conversation. You've already backed it with all the documentation. Otherwise, there's no reason you should, and I'm saying should intentionally, be having that conversation. We're going to be talking in a future episode about the proper way to document. I'm going to bring in a legal expert in HR to help us with that, so that you have the script and the tools to implement all the things that you're learning here in the Leadership Sandbox. I'm giving you all of the underneath work. I want to now also give you the tangible tacticals that you can apply immediately and train your own team to be able to apply immediately, so that, again, those conversations you get to have, they're not hard anymore. They're still going to be uncomfortable. They don't ever get easier, but they're not as hard. So thanks for joining me today in the Sandbox. I am super grateful that you took time. And by the way, I guess I should have pointed this out at the middle. We've actually got a new recording studio. I'm standing in it. It's just not got all the tchotchke items up on the walls yet with the branding that we're looking for, but I am excited to be here in our new space. And there's more to come in the Leadership Sandbox. I'll see you next time. Make it a great day, and God bless you.